I think I've got maybe the coolest job on the planet. Where's Richard Davis from U.S. Bank? I was lucky enough, CEO of U.S. Bank, I was lucky enough to meet him a couple days ago in Minnesota. I wasn't happy to go to Minnesota in February, but it was cool to meet him and his executive team, and he said, you may have the coolest job out there, and I think so, and I'm incredibly honored to be here. Kind of a bit of a fan of history. So was anyone here the very first time Ethisphere did this? It was at the Rainbow Room. Anybody here? I think there was about 60 people. Steve, we did it with Forbes. Steve Forbes was sort of one of the keynotes. I don't think it was long enough ago where he was running for president, but now we've got 525 plus here. So please give yourself a round of applause. So here's an understatement. Today we announced the 2015 list of world's most ethical companies. Last year when we did it, you'll see a slide in a little bit, and I'm learning a little bit about Twitter from my 13-year-old, like, get off of that, would you? Anyway, so we had 7 million Twitter impressions, and we were the 4th most searched term on Google that day. It's pretty cool, huh? The great folks, or the sadistic folks at Aflac, did something with me today called a satellite media tour. The CorpCom folks in the room will grimace. They know what that is. That's, you get asked the same question by 30 different media outlets. So I did that today for about 5 hours, and I think if last year we didn't do stuff like that, we got 7 million Twitter impressions, I think today is going to be a great day. And that means it's an especially great day for you. So again, congratulations to the 2015 World's Most Ethical Company honorees. Congratulations. So we've had some really amazing speakers here before. We were lucky enough to have Secretary Madeleine Albright speak, and we also saw her perform improv on the fly with Second City. That was pretty cool. We had George Mitchell. He made everybody cry. It was really an amazing American story. It really was. Last year we had a sort of cadre of folks, including Ernie Allen, who I refer to as an angel on earth. He founded National Center, International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And the theme was really what the difference companies make. And so we're going to do a little bit of a different theme this year. I'm incredibly delighted that somebody, I was obsessed with his book, and I'll tell a little story in a minute, Walter Isaacson. So many of you have heard him. He wrote that great book about Steve Jobs. Thank you so much, Walter, for joining. I'm super excited. First time ever, this is a new tradition. Dr. Joe Sally, CEO of Milliken, which is an amazing company. They're one of the few that's been honored every single year. He's going to give some thoughts about ethical leadership. We've got a fascinating guy called Scott Harrison, who another angel on earth, founded something called Charity Water. So my goal for tonight is threefold. One, you celebrate, right? And it's so great to see, there's a bunch of you have 2 tables, right? And the folks from Alaska said, I want you to meet somebody. This is somebody who worked in technical services and saved a bunch of lives. We were gonna have him come in his technical service outfit, and I wish you would have. But anyway, it's pretty cool, right? It's very, very, very cool. And so I want you to celebrate. I also want you to connect, and you're going to hear the word community a couple times tonight, and I've spoken about community before. I'm going to talk about the power of community in a little bit. And I'm hoping you feel a little bit inspired, because with great success, here we are in this really cool venue. With great success comes great responsibility, right? We're very lucky to be here. So I hope you go back to your respective organizations and your ecosystems and your suppliers and your customers, and you inspire them even more. So, decent sort of calm goals for tonight. We celebrate, we connect, and hopefully you're inspired. So, Paul, you'll let me know if we hit any of those. Okay, so here we go. This is the Parliament. This is London. And I was asked to speak, Ethisphere was asked to speak at something called the Global Law Summit 3 weeks ago. And it was pretty cool. It was there, the purpose was to celebrate the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta. Pretty cool, huh? and there were 2,300 folks there from over 100 countries. We were asked to lead a panel on corporate ethics. Does that matter? So I thought we did a decent job, and I was feeling pretty high about things. When I was done with my panel, I had a whole group of people lined up to talk to me. Before that, I'm going to back up a second because I wanted to put out one thing. As I was getting ready to fly over, and I don't want to forget this because it's important, and it's a tradition that our founder, Alex Brigham, started with his children. So I'm sorry that I got a little carried away for a second. But anyway, before I went over to do this, I figured I better have a refresher course on what the Magna Carta is. So I consulted who I thought to be the foremost expert on what the Magna Carta is. This is my 10-year-old daughter, Violet.
Dad, the Magna Carta is a historical document that England's Parliament nobles put in place to stop the king from abusing his power. This is still important today because some of the laws it stated are still in place, and the Magna Carta is a symbol of equality and fairness for all people.
So, that's what the Magna Carta is. But anyway, so the other thing that I didn't know is apparently there's a Hello Kitty version of the Magna Carta. I saved you guys from listening to that. I listened to that for 30 minutes after that. But anyway, I'm not kidding either. Anyway, so I was on a high. I thought the panel went well, and lots of people were lined up to see me. And the first person that wanted to talk to me was a very serious guy, a German guy, and he's in the global engineering company. He says, you know, we compete against the Chinese and Russians for big projects around the world, and they don't play very fair. So they win deals, and that's not right. And that creates a disbalance in economic power, and it's not fair, and I want to know right now what Ethisphere is going to do about it. So I said, okay. And then the next one came up, and he was actually from New York, and he was a senior partner with a big AmLaw 100 firm. And he said, let me tell you something, Tim. Did you know that the SEC is incenting employees to sort of come to them with dollars, right? At the same time, the Department of Justice is saying you must invest in robust compliance program, including ways employees can report. That doesn't seem fair, and I'd like to know right now what Ethisphere is going to do about it. And the third one, which was the most moving, was a lady that was a government official in Nigeria. And she said to me, you know, the people that run our country are corrupt. And we're having trouble advancing as a society. And it's really hard. And it's not fair. And I want to know what Ethisphere is going to do about it. So my shoulders sort of sagged a little bit. I said I was feeling pretty good about a little while ago. But anyway, it's a long flight from London to Phoenix where I live. So I reflected a lot. You know what I thought about? I thought about community. And this is what people hate when people read PowerPoint slides, but I'm going to read this. It's a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. That's what we have here, isn't it? Doing business in the right way matters. So I said, wouldn't it be awesome if there was one global rule of law? That would make it easy. Everybody followed the same rules, right? But that's never going to happen. But there are companies like yours. There's a community of leaders like yours that does have a common set of rules. It's very simple. We've had many conferences, and the CEOs and senior leaders said if there's only one way to do it, I don't care how many countries we're in. We do it the right way. So I started to feel a little bit better, and I'm thinking, what's the power of this community? So I'm going to give you a couple of data points. You guys employ 6.2 million people. That's not your supply chain. That's not third parties. That's not others. You employ 6.2 million people. That's a lot. You have a lot of power when you do that. The annual revenue, and you know, there's some privately held companies that don't disclose, but it's around $2 trillion US. From you guys, from this community, $2 trillion. That's a lot of import. And you got a market cap. Again, there's a lot of privately held companies, so obviously we can't get this, but the market cap is $4 trillion. So, are you guys a community that can affect change? I think so. So that's where, you know, so exciting to be here, and it really made me feel better, and I feel like it's a journey, right? I can't call up those 3 people or write them email saying, we got it, Ethisphere's got it, don't worry about it. But I think this community's got it, right? And there's countless examples. I'm so privileged, we're so privileged we get to engage with you. So it's really special. So on behalf of this community, please kind of make sure you introduce yourself tonight to somebody that you don't know. If you want to meet anybody from any one of the companies, we know them all, and they want to engage. So anyway, it's an exciting time. A couple other things about this community. Every year we put up a stock performance chart, and there's a total brilliant wonk that's a friend of Alex's that works for a firm called Zebra Capital. That if those of you got your MBA courses, it's run by Roger Ibbotson, who's really the father of asset allocation. So these are some serious guys. So he said, you're looking at the wrong thing on your Ethisphere index. He said, you should compare it to something called the MSCI World Index, because it's a group of companies from around the world. And this is kind of interesting. It's hard to see a little bit. Every year since we first did it, this has outperformed. All right, so that's not an accident. It's not an accident. So I don't know, where's Robert Ross? Is he around? Hello, Robert. Thanks for doing the work over here. The other thing I mentioned about the Twitter impressions. I think this is going to be more. Thomson Reuters, we do something tomorrow and the next day called the Global Ethics Summit. Many of you are going to be at there. They're our partner for that. One of the great things about having Thomson Reuters for a partner for an event like that is they actually have this really cool billboard in Times Square. So if you walk over there tonight, you'll see, congratulations to the 2015 World's Most Ethical Companies. I think 30 million people see that a day. So again, give yourself a round of applause. So I wish we had 10 hours with Walter Isaacson. I wish we had 10 hours with Scott Harrison, who founded Charity Water. Dr. Sally from Milliken is a great story. We don't have that much time, but everybody I talk to tell me, well, millennials are different, right? That you got to teach them the why. And I don't think that's true. I'll give you a couple of data points in a little bit, but here's one that's interesting. Stanford and UC Santa Barbara did a recent study that said recent MBA grads would take 15% less to work for a company that they believe has strong ethics. The best employees and the most engaged employees are they're also the ones that are going to inspire, they're going to not bribe, they're going to do the right things. And I think things like this are true. I also think it's only going to continue. So, these are a couple rhetorical questions. Is this new, that ethical leadership pays dividends? And then what really is innovation? And then I think Ray Day from Ford Motor is here. He was also the guest editor, hi Ray, of a great issue that we did themed around reputation. They did this really cool conference they invited me to 2 years ago called Trust is the New Black. They put me in between Bill Ford, who kicked it off, and then the next one was Steve Wozniak and a couple people. So that wasn't too daunting, right, going in between Bill Ford and Steve Wozniak. But Walter, I will tell you, I just got done reading the Jobs book, and I had a moment where it's for 5 minutes I'm standing there by myself with Steve Wozniak, and he's kind of shy, staring at his red shoes, and I said to myself, don't ask him about Jobs, don't ask him about Steve Jobs, don't ask him about Steve Jobs. So after about 2 minutes of awkward conversation, I said, did you read the book? What did you think about Steve Jobs and everything else? Because I was obsessed with that book. People who worked with me were like, stop talking about it. But anyway, it was pretty neat. But so Ford did something that said, is trust the new black? And others have talked about, are we really in the trust economy right now? Is trust the currency? And then I was on a plane recently and I found myself reading Good to Great again. And you remember that's kind of the seminal book. And Jim Collins said, I think 30 years ago, the secret to long-lasting great companies is not technical skills. You start with the who, right? You start with the who because they're agile, you trust them. So this notion of trust is a new black, we're in the new trust economy, the millennials have to know the why before they're going to do it. I don't think that's new at all. But I do think we're very fortunate at Ethisphere. We're right in the nexus of this whole thing. The companies here are right in the nexus of this. And so the question of what versus why, employees need to know the why. I think they always needed to know the why. People need to be inspired. People need to have a purpose. And we're really honored to play a part of that. So I wanted to share that with you. And with that, I'm really excited. Walter has a hard stop. He has to be somewhere somewhere else in a little bit, but I'm just so excited. I'm not going to read Walter's bio because I want him to have a chance to talk, but it's pretty amazing. I think everybody knows he's a former CEO of both Time and CNN, current CEO of the Aspen Institute, which just does amazing things. I think he's written 10 or 11 bestsellers. By the way, everybody here gets a copy of his latest one, so you'll see a card. Of course, we didn't print it, so you've got a card. If you've got a Kindle, of course, everybody has some sort of ebook thing. So there's a card in there for his latest book about innovation. So with that, if you would join me in welcoming Walter Isaacson.